welcome to 3D Epic Youth Ministry Podcast. This is our first one.
This is our first one.
First one we plan on.
Inaugural.
Yeah, this is it. So if you're watching this, you're a part of the leadership team, part about the atomic bomb that's about to hit Benzie County. Yo. So the reason for doing these podcasts would be to help you as the leader grow within the youth ministry. We don't want to just throw you guys out into the youth ministry, into the Shark Tank, and get eaten alive and not know what to do.
Yes,
but
that's not fun.
No, we want to train you, equip you to how to handle situations, how to really mentor a teenager, all that good stuff, all that stuff that you'll need.
Yes, all that good stuff.
All the good stuff. So for this leadership podcast, we're going to be talking about the 5 rules of engagement.
Yes, and we found out that they're very important, even though we may not think that we've done them. When we look back on our youth ministries, we found out that we've done these without actually knowing that we've actually done these. So weird stuff happening right there, but it must work, right?
Yeah. So what's cool about this system of the 5 rules of engagement is when Pastor Brandon was talking about, when we look back on students that really got engaged in the ministry, we it's like, how did that happen? And just this past year, we've created a system, the 5 rules of engagement, and why that happened. So if we want students that are becoming a part of the church, we're guaranteed if we follow these 5 rules of engagement, it will happen. And we've seen it happen multiple times. Like I said, we didn't have the names for it at that time, so this is how we operated.
I wish we would have thought of it then.
Yeah, I know. But now that we know the tricks and the tips in it, we want to give it to you guys so that it's just not just me and Brandon practicing these 5 rules of engagement, but imagine if each one of us within the youth ministry is practicing that on a student. Also now we're packing twice as many rather than just packing 2 students. So, with that being said, so get a notebook out, get a pen, turn on it. Well, you can't really turn on your device unless you have 2 devices. Then hardcore to you.
You have to take notes the old way.
Yeah, the old way.
The old way.
So because it's a must, if you want to be part of the team, you have to be practicing these every week. Because we were just talking about how it's not a sprint. I'm stealing Brandon's words now. It's not a sprint, but it's a journey. It's a journey. It's not because we're used to this microwave system. Yep. We put a burrito in, and boom, it's done 2 minutes. This system's not like that. You can't just use it 1 week and that's it. It's going to take every week practicing these five rules. And then we were even talking about how each student might not be at a certain level on these rules. So when we give them to you, you'll notice that you might not take one particular student all the way right away. That's why it's a journey process.
Yeah, right. And don't get discouraged because it'll happen. There's just different mindsets for different kids and different teens, and some people may be comfortable in some positions but not in others, and you'll be able to tell which ones those are. And it's just really important to trust that God's going to do great things and God's going to help open up, and this is a system that helps teens do that, and helps us do that with teens to be able to open up to them so they know our life as well as them knowing our lives as we know their lives as well. So
another thing I was thinking as we were talking too is you might not be the person that takes the teenager through all 5 steps. For instance, Brandon might be able to get through the first 2 with a student, but for some reason he can't get to that last step. So at that point, understand that as a leader to help bring in each other, hence better together, to help bring in that other leader, or maybe it's a student leader or a student to help get that wall broken to get to those next levels. So understand that you don't have to necessarily, you're striving to walk a student through all 5 steps, but you're also striving and trying to understand I might not be the person. You might be just the person planting the seed, but someone else might be taking the harvest of it. So
and that's always remember that seed's important.
Yeah. So someone is just starting the process. And the thing is with the 5 rules of engagement, the purpose of it is to bridge the gap from youth group to Sunday morning church service to being part of the church. Because a lot of times we'll have students that just come on Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and that's it. We don't see it again. So, and I believe it's because we haven't followed these rules of engagement. Like I said, we've seen some students all of a sudden bridge from youth group to Sundays, and before we didn't know why. But what the cool thing is, now we know why, and now you guys will know why.
Yes.
And and just keep that in your mindset too. Is that's the purpose, that we want to see them become a part of the church, and that's why we've created this system that works.
Yeah, and the teens that we bring in, they're the church of the youth. We've heard this thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and maybe we're sick of it, but they are the church. They're the next generation that's going to take the church to where it's going to go. So it's important that the church is instilled in them, that God's instilled in them, and that they know how to bring up after we're able to teach these things to them, for them to be able to take them and start to raise up leaders and raise up others as well is really, really important in that life. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So we can kind of hanging on. We haven't told you the 5 things, but he says no. Some of you guys will just end the video as soon as you get the 5 things. So, do you think it's time to give them at least one?
One.
Okay, we'll give you guys one. All right. So remember, there's 5. So here's the first one to the rule of engagement is talking with a student. Seems simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we always overlook. It's like, why isn't that student engaging? Well, did you engage with him with a conversation?
Yeah. And hi doesn't. I mean.
Yeah. Hi doesn't come.
Hey, how's it going? You know, if that's all you say to a student, then they're not gonna get to know you.
No.
And it's really, like we were saying, it's just like us talking right now to you. It's important that you talk to them and get to know them. And if you're struggling in your relationship with God, even right now, even look at the aspect of how much are you talking to God, and how much are you reading the Bible into saying, man, I really need a deeper relationship with God. It's the same thing with talking to teenagers and them talking to you. In order to get to know somebody, you've got to talk to them. You've got to build a relationship with them, and it's important. It's the most important thing, I believe. I mean, talking and building a relationship to start to gain trust.
I mean,
hearing from each other.
If we look at Genesis, when God first created us, like his initial engagement with us was talking with us. And same with us back with him. That relationship with us, with God, starts with talking. That's why he sent Jesus Christ down on the cross for us, so that we can commune, to talk with him, have conversation with him. So it's definitely vital, and almost it's like this. You can't do any of the other steps without this step. Because I mean, you got to really engage with a student. You have to have a talk, have almost, and just some tips in having a conversation is listening. Like, let them do the talking.
Yeah.
Like, find out about what they like, and just ask questions. Like, that's what I always try to do, especially with new students or anybody that I'm trying to get to know. Is I'll because people don't like when you dominate a conversation. Sorry if I'm dominating.
I'm feeling very
Sorry.
uncomfortable right now. No.
But I will ask a lot of questions, and it allows them to talk to. They feel like they're a part of the conversation. Like, I hate it when you talk with someone and they're just like.
And you're like, yep.
But did you?
I've felt a lot of times that a lot of teenagers just want to be heard, and from that can become listening to them talk and air out what they have, and them through that starting to trust you, and then you can open up and start to talk to them and start to pour into their life as to what happened in your life. You know, what changed your heart, what made you want to talk to somebody, to let them know about God, to open up to them about stuff.
There's that old saying too, they don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Is that how that goes? So and just by listening, that's all of a sudden you get a sense, wow, that person really cares about what I have to say. They don't want to just speak to me. And as a teenager, they have people talking to them all the time. They have teachers, their parents, they have Facebook, social medias. People are always talking to them, and as a teenager, they just want sometimes to be heard. So that is the first one, and it's a big one. And it really flows into, because if you screw up the first one, the next couple are gonna be super awkward. It's like you won't want to do the next one unless you've done this first one. So this one really more applies. It applies anywhere, but like especially it's nice within our youth group settings, is the next one is, so the first one is talking, and the next one is eat with them. So you're talking with them and eating with them. What's nice about what we've done with the youth groups here is we've created a setting to where you can have a meal, and you really can sit, talk, and then continue that conversation. Hey, let's go get some food, and let's sit and eat together.
Yeah, we purposely set up food times, and we do it at a table where you face each other, and you're put with the opportunity, sometimes forced with the opportunity to talk to each other while you eat, and that can be disgusting sometimes, I know. Eating with your mouth open.
Yeah.
But it's
watching
also,
the teenagers ravage the food.
Yeah. So, but, you know, I think of times with your families when you sit down to eat and the discussions that you have, and I remember times, you know, during our Thanksgiving meals or those times when we have our whole family around, just having great conversation and being able to pour into, and you know, you gotta be comfortable with it, and like we said, to talk with them, and now to eat with them, and
It's almost a lost art too.
Yeah.
Sitting down and eating with people, like you don't see it in families anymore. And as a church, we should be different and unique. And I feel like by us giving them the opportunity to eat with us and sit down and eat with them, it's very unique to where it's distinct, and it really will. It seems small. You think food, wow, but it is very impactful, especially if you're willing to sit down with someone and eat with them.
Yeah, in youth ministry, you know, there's that joke that you gotta trick kids to come, so you bring food. But that's what it used to be, that, you know. But as we look through these, we're like, oh,
there's a reason for it.
And
then, like, even if you look at it in the Bible, every time a covenant was done, they had a feast, they had a meal. So like, if you want to have a covenant relationship with the student where you're really pouring and mentoring them, you got to eat with them. You got to, you know, like, sit with them and learn their dirty habits and their disgusting ways of eating and all that good stuff. So the third one, which is it kind of 2 and 3 kind of go together, but as far as if we're talking about within the youth group setting, so on a Tuesday or Thursday night, you know, we've strategically done it to where it's food first, and then we go into a time of worship and or message. And so this next one is sitting with them. As I said, really bridging that gap, especially on from a youth group night to a Sunday. If you're like, hey, no, how about you come on Sunday and you can sit with me, or even just throughout the service of youth groups, sitting with them, or heck, if you're a student leader watching this, sitting with them at school.
Yeah, and I always, you know, we, sadly enough, right now there are cliques within our schools and that stuff, and you never know how much you impact someone's life by going and sitting with them. Like we said, sit kind of goes back to eat, but if you're a student at school, or maybe even a leader and you're at work, and just being able to go sit down with somebody and being able to talk with those people, you never know what discussion may come up. You may end up introducing Christ to them for the very first time, just because you stepped out of your comfort zone, you went and sat with the person to be able to talk to them, and they opened up to you. You never know how God's gonna work a lot of times, and that's, sitting with somebody is powerful, and can be impactful.
Yeah, and even with the rules of engagement, like, this could be the first one sometimes. Because I think back at, when I was in school, I had to pass my exam, I had to make sure I had someone saved. Yeah, it was intense. And I used to go at the bus stop, and a lot of you guys that have been with me for a while have heard this story, but for those that haven't, I'd go at the bus stop and minister and share the gospel, but it always started with I had to sit next to someone. I had to get close, because sitting with next to, like me and Brandon, we have to get close. In order to sit with someone, you gotta be close with them. Not maybe necessarily like close in relationship, but you like physically, you gotta be close with someone where it forces engagement. So sitting with them forces you to engage with them, because how awkward is it just to sit next to someone and nothing happens? Yeah,
just eat.
So you're making it worse, really, just sitting there not conversating. And then, like, even as far as like going into worship service and the message, it's especially if you already had the conversation with them, if you've already eaten with them, and now that you're like, hey, let's sit through this message together. Now you gotta almost minister to the student throughout the service, like who knows, like a message time, all of a sudden a point was given and it really touched home to you, and you notice maybe the students taking notes or not taking notes or whatnot, maybe during that time or after, recommended after, you don't want to distract you during the message, but like, hey, did you hear that point? That really touched me because of this, and because you sat with them, and you know, I don't know, just sitting with them. The next one is worship with them, because the reason why I think this one is super important, like so far we've gone through kind of almost a practical end. I always think like with a stool, even though on these stools there's, I guess, 2 legs, kind of course. With the like, there's always 3 legs to at least 3 legs to every stool that holds up a stool. The practical, spiritual, and attitudinal being the attitude behind things. And we so far in the 5 rules of engagement, we kind of covered the practical and attitudinal part of it, because within the 5 rules of engagement, you gotta have the attitude that you're going to do this. But as far as the spiritual end of it is worshiping with them, there's something about when you're praying with someone, doing devotion, like especially with my wife, like it's and you guys know, I think you guys know, it's like almost at first, like whenever you're doing any type of ministry with someone, it's almost like, as far as prayer, devotions, it's awkward. And then all of a sudden when you break that ice of that awkwardness to where you can just worship and pray with someone, all of a sudden it's a whole new level of intimacy you have with that person, to where you can speak into their lives.
And maybe, you know, we were talking about this earlier, teens worshiping, and maybe they don't know how, you know, we talked about, it's not just music, it's a lifestyle, really, and it's how we're supposed to draw close to God, is worship through song and prayer and preach and read and stuff. But maybe there's a teen out there that doesn't really understand worship and doesn't understand why they have to, or you don't have to lift your hands, but or to do that stuff. But maybe if they saw you doing it and, you know, say, wow, I have an adult that's doing this, and they don't feel awkward at all. And
especially if they know you.
Yeah, if they know you, and then that teen or that person then automatically comes and starts talking to you. Why were you raising your hands? Why were you doing all this stuff? And it's just a way to acknowledge God. It's a way to feel that we're closer to God, just to close our eyes and to let Him infiltrate our hearts and to move in our lives. And I experienced true worship at an Acquire the Fire event a long time ago, because I'm getting old. And
what's that? Acquire the Fire.
Oh,
I went to Acquire the Fire when I was in student, like as a student.
So Acquire the Fire, and I don't even know if it's around still. It was a student gathering, and you know, I used to go all the time. My uncle at the time was from Lansing, and we actually were going to the Breslin, which I'm a big Michigan fan, so that really hurt me to have to go into that building. But I did it, and God changed lives still. So that was all good. I was okay with that. But it really happened. God really introduced Himself in worship to me through worship, and really letting go of things when I met my wife. And I had to really dive into the face of God, if that makes sense. I really had to dive into the face of God and to seek Him more and more and more, because I'm gonna be straight up honest. I was 27 when I moved out of my house, and that was when I got married. So my mom and dad were not pushing me out the door by any means, but they're like, you should go on a date sometime. You know,
get to know some girls.
But that all came through talking, and through all these different avenues that we've been talking about, and just letting go. And we have to trust that God's got a plan, and we have to trust that being a Christian can feel very awkward sometimes, and can cause controversy, but
also cause freedom, though.
And
that's a big thing with. Oh, go ahead.
If we look at Jesus' ministry, he caused controversy.
And a lot of freedom too.
And he caused freedom from that controversy.
And like, especially like within the worship setting, when you're worshiping with teenagers, or as a student leader worshiping with your peers, is in Matthew it talks about how praise is the breakthrough of praise is the father of breakthrough. So breakthrough happens when we are gathered together in a service to where we can worship God through praise. And maybe by you raising your hands and worshiping with that student, all of a sudden, that was enough. You gave them enough courage, enough faith to all of a sudden raise their hands to get their breakthrough. How cool is that? They raised their hands because you mentored it to them by being there, by showing them. And all of a sudden, they raised their hands and they got breakthrough, or they heard from God from that moment.
And that may be the only step that you help them with.
Yeah,
But that's a big step.
that's a huge
big
one.
step.
Yep. And then so the last one. This one is, as a youth pastor, I've seen over the years, and probably you've seen it too, most frustrating. As far as me trying to do it myself, but also trying to get other leaders to do this. Like it seems like it's always gets, this last step always gets put on me and Brandon as the youth pastor, because you guys are youth pastors. This is your job. You're supposed to do it. But as a part of this youth ministry, it is your guys' job to do this step as well.
Yeah.
It's super important that each one of us are doing this step, and it is doing life together.
Yeah.
Doing life together. It's like I said, it always gets put on us because we're the ones we're the youth pastors, that you should be hanging out with those weirdos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that you guys are weird, student leaders, but you guys know what I'm saying. Every generation looks at the next generation as the
We
weirdo.
know what you're saying. No.
I'm Brandon's weirdo. But it's super important. Like, it's one thing to worship with them, talk with them within a church setting, but taking all those steps and doing it on their playground, doing life, doing it. Maybe help me out here. After school, tutoring them. That's a way. Just hey, let's get lunch together. Taking the group of teenagers that if you're especially
seeing a movie,
going and seeing a movie on Tuesday. That's why we do Tuesday night movies, is to get outside of the four walls and do life with them. Because teenagers love movies, we love movies, and why not do it together?
And you get popcorn.
And you get popcorn.
And I love popcorn.
So this step is definitely, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to minister to a student within the walls, but then also taking it outside the walls and mentoring day to day and how they need to, because like students act one way at church, if we're honest. Everybody does, it seems like. Everybody, you guys probably I've been guilty of it, acting one way at Sunday or on a youth group service, and then all of a sudden through life, because it's never been mentored. Especially if I look back now, I've never been mentored in how to live out my Christianity walk day to day, like actually mentored.
Right.
I mean, I've been taught it, spoke, like this is blah 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 how you do it, but not actually shown how to do it. And how cool is it if you guys are willing to step out of the four walls, go open that door, and invite a student to be a part of your life and mentor how walking with God every day looks.
Yeah, it's really intergenerational ministries. It's like working through generations, and you don't know how much impact a teen's life is that teenagers see us every Tuesday, every Thursday, and sometimes every day, and they maybe get sick of us and don't want to hear from us.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys just, that's a time when they can step in. I think it's important that people get to know you inside of the church, and they get to see you outside of the church, so that they can see that you live you live in the inside.
And just to continue what you were just saying just a second ago, before you continue the other thought you had, is that he was saying how they might get annoyed of us. It's true, they're gonna get annoyed of us. And here's the thing, and this might be the reason why they get annoyed to us, or it's like for their mindset sometimes it's like, well, you're the youth pastor, you have to be doing this for me. But imagine if also one of you guys took the initiative, because you're not the youth pastor, but because God has called you into the youth, you're a youth minister. Each one of you guys are youth ministers, and I feel like as a student, and correct me if I'm wrong, and student leaders, if you're watching, when you're watching this, comment below, be like, yeah, I agree with this, that it's almost more impactful for someone else within the youth ministry to come up to you and mentor you than us, because it seems like we have to do it type of thing.
Yeah, and that's a sad but true fact. We love what we do. We hope that you guys enjoy what we do and that God moves in your lives. And I pray that we do life together. I mean, just with you guys as leaders, and we want you to be able to come to us and not be annoyed by us. And but also to be ready to hear maybe sometimes what you don't want to hear. That's the hard part. Is we don't really sugarcoat things. There's God's word is one way, and sometimes God was.
Yeah. Another important thing to think too is each one of us have different personalities. Like, especially when doing life with students, like there's certain students that will relate to Brandon that won't relate to me. And there's certain students that will relate to you guys that won't relate to us. And that's why we need your help to do life with them.
Yes.
And going through those 5 rules of engagement, I mean, once again, talking with them, eating with them, sitting with them, worshiping with them, and doing life with them, especially like if it starts within the church, also you meet that student that first, I mean, that's the thing too, like, statistics show in order for someone to come back, they need to, this is statistics for Sunday mornings, but shaken 6 hands, had 6 connections with other people. And I feel like that's the same, especially with teenagers in a day. If you guys didn't know, the millennials graduated last year. So we have a whole new generation within the youth group. It's Generation Z, they call it. And this generation is they call it the publishing generation, where they want to publish what's in their heads. They want to tell you what's in their heads. So I feel like if you're willing to go through those 5 rules of engagement, talk with them, and really listening with them, and giving them time to publish. Imagine if all of a sudden, if you were a new person coming to a church, or student leader, if you were the first time coming to youth group, and if you had 6 different people all of a sudden come to you and want to listen to you, all of a sudden it's a game changer.
Yeah.
I'd want to come back, especially now. I know for some of you guys that are older, it's hard to understand because some of you guys would rather just come sit and not want to hear it from anybody. But Generation Z wants to be heard. They want to publish what's in their head. They want to be heard. So, and if we had 6 different people, if we're all trained up in it, to imagine if every single one of you guys on a Tuesday and Thursday, each one of us, that new student went through those 5 rules of engagement and gave them time, because they're Generation Z, gave them time to publish to each one of us. They're going to feel famous. They're going to want to come back. So,
if we want this to be a place to be,
yeah,
right?
this place to be is popping litness level 100.
Yes. and we want God to move. We know God's going to do great things, and we know that lives are going to be changed. And but it can't happen without you guys.
We're better together.
Yes, better together.
Corporately, individually. I mean, we just iron sharpens iron. The Bible says so. We can't do it without you guys. And I'm super happy that to be a part of what God's doing in our area, because it's literally, I feel like we're gonna be setting the pace for youth groups all around.
Yeah.
I mean, for some of you guys that know that I've talked with, well, even you know now, I've told you, like our district with Assemblies of God, they've been taking things that we've been doing at our youth world. How cool is that? It's like being a part of something God's doing up here in the middle of the woods. And so yeah, that's all I have.
That's what I got.
So cool.
We could go on for hours and hours.
We could give you my stories, but we will. I think we're ready. Who knows what we're at? So if you want to close us out in prayer.
Yeah, I will. Father God, we praise you for this day. I pray that those who are listening and us, Father God, would just take these principles and apply it to our lives, Lord, that your name would be glorified, honored, and praised, that teens' lives would be changed, that our lives would be changed, that we would see a body of believers rise up in this community, and that you would just show us the great and powerful God that you are, and what you're going to do, Lord. We know that something big is coming, but we don't know what that is per se, but we know that you've got it under control, and we can't wait to see what you have we can't wait to see what you have for us, Father God. We give you praise and we thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.